Hello and welcome to another open source web development hangout. Today we're working on the Western Front website. We are writing a test suite for our content importers. We've worked through several sessions and improved our test coverage. I think we're at like 86% now. There's a few sections left here, but most of the file has coverage now. So 86.2% coverage here. It's pretty nice. Today we'll work through these media blocks. Essentially, we need to write a test. That test checks for an exception, and then write, I think, 2 tests to get into this image handler. So we got a PDF handler and an image handler. So, without further ado, we've got the code open here. I'll bring the shared pie, and oops, that's the wrong file. Shared pie and tests. Here we are. Tests is down here. In previous episode, I got on a little bit of a diversion with refactoring using GPT-4. It was really interesting and fruitful in that it led me to reconsider some of the aspects of this code, some of the ways that my code is written, in particular how I'm handling types, such as beautiful soup types. In the long run, though, the refactor didn't work for a couple reasons. It's kind of complicated, so I'm back to just a monolithic function with some small improvements and improved test coverage. I decided the priority was to improve the test coverage. Later we can refactor, but this is more or less throwaway code. Once we're live, once the site is up and the content is imported, after a few months or a year or so, we'll probably be able to deprecate these importers. We only need to import them when we cross the threshold. We got document, media. Let me see if I can find my media. All right, parse media blocks, test cases, anyway. So I've got a basic YouTube test. And if we look here, this YouTube test is captured here with this media embed domains, which is essentially, is there a way to put a bookmark, I guess, like this, and then come back to that? Anyway, where's my, does this show my breakpoint down here? Yeah, so you can see your breakpoint there. That's handy. Nonetheless, here's the embedded domains. I realized that we have to prefix the www right now for our URL parsing to handle these. They're separate cases. There's probably a more elegant way I could have done it without having to duplicate all of these. The www subdomain, though, is so commonly used, I needed to include that in the tests rather verbosely at this point. Nonetheless, now we're able to parse, test this media embed domains. I don't really need to test multiple domains necessarily. Let's write a simple test for this empty string test case. That should be a low-hanging fruit. We'll see how far we can get in today's session. I've got around 30 minutes. Well, it's actually suggesting PDF URL. Let's check it out. Let's follow the guidance. Oops, so if I let Copilot write this for me a bit. Let's run that. Yeah. Run the Docker in the background. I don't think I need to rebuild here. So let's read through it. So our media blocks needs a list of URLs. This is because in our spreadsheet we have sometimes multiple multimedia attachments on a page, so it takes a list, even though it's a single item list. And then we should have a block of length 1, so we get the first item in that block, and then make sure it's outputting a document link. I guess we're not going to check against the URL, at least in the first case. So the block type, yeah, that's probably pretty safe. Otherwise, we would need to look in the file name, expected file name. But as I seem to recall, the Wagtail CMS adds a random identifier to the file name. It doesn't just take the file name directly. So I can see why we might not have included that check previously. Copilot is just checking our surrounding code for this pattern, where we've done this at a lower level. Right now we're testing this higher level function. We've also composed this higher level function of some lower level functions here. Yeah. So this one we've written a test for. And we've got the coverage in that test. Okay, server's running. We'll run these tests. 23 tests. I could probably target these more directly. Let's look that up. I forget the exact syntax here. Yeah, you can just, it's just a Python modules. That'll save a little bit of time. Okay, so yeah, the test failed. Not a big deal though. It was an, I don't know if you could call it an educated guess, but nonetheless, auto-generated code isn't going to be perfect. You know, in human written code, that's of course not perfect. We're constantly making small mistakes that we just need to course correct, but that's how we develop in steps. We write the general idea, see if it works, fix the small things that don't work, rerun the code. This is a general pattern. So I think in a way, Copilot's not significantly different from that. It's just making it faster to iterate and make those first mistakes and correct them. So I think it's an accelerator for the most part, when it has good input and when it has context-specific code patterns to follow. It can even be really accurate. Notice that, I didn't type any of this. I just made one correction here and read through the content, read through the code to make sure it made sense. So let's just run this specific test. That would be in our content importers. We're in the app, yes. Content. Make sure that content migration dot. Where we at? Tests dot. and the specific function. See if we can save ourselves a little bit of time. This needs to be a Django test case because it's interacting with the database. Found one test. Good. When we're parsing these, it's downloading a file from the server. It's creating file bytes and saving an entity in a database in a documents collection. Weird. Amazing. What did I not read this correctly? I was probably just I saved it. Output media block type is document. Expected media block type is document. Am I doing wrong? This has got to be user error, right? I've saved the file. I specified the test case. Did I run that? Maybe I ran them before I saved it. Also, this one I can put keep DB. Okay, so I must have just ran them, like edited this, ran the test, then saved this. Something silly. All right, so that was some good help with Google Copilot. GitHub Copilot. You automatically write this test with only one small error. Now we should have test coverage here. Now let's look at here and here and here. There's 3 more areas. They're not so critical, but there's a possibility we could have an empty string and that it will raise an exception. Let's see where Copilot guides us next. Okay, I always do that. That's kind of an annoying thing. Editing it in the diff editor. All right, def parse media blocks with image URL. That's a good idea. Let's see what it says. And we will just go with that. And it looks like it might have had a better success this time. Cool. Run the single. Basically, it's using a URL I provided previously in another test. Again, we're at a higher level function here. We're composing of smaller functions, but I have these conditions that need to be met or checked throughout the handler to make sure we handle particular media types correctly. And rather than having these as a big old monolith, I was able to refactor it so that the logic to handle those is in a subfunction or own function. Cool. So that test just worked. Very, very good right off the bat. I typed a few characters. I think I just put a cursor on a blank line, and Copilot took care of the rest. Okay, Copilot, what do you have for us next? There we go again, right in the diff header. I always just do that. It's just kind of annoying. I don't know that it should be changed, but so common. Okay, does media blocks with invalid URL. That's about right. I'm thinking I'm going to test for this request exception. I believe it'll raise here though. Let's see if it can. No, it's not really. I'm going to do that. Request exception. It shouldn't really do any of those. It will. Ah, yeah. Okay, so here's the deal. I need to do this. Give it a little help hint with self raises exception. There we go. Okay, I think this is correct. It's going to try to parse the media blocks with an invalid URL. Hopefully this example.com. will raise. Let's find out. I don't know if this is gonna work. Yeah, it's gonna try to fetch that using requests. All right. Right. Oh wait, it's like I'm running multiple tests, isn't it? Make sure I ran the right test. What's going on here? So another user error probably. I gave it that right test. Why did it run? Okay, no, never mind. And I didn't give it the right test. One test case. And it didn't assert, didn't raise. I might have to debug this. We log and then raise it to the parent context. Maybe I'm doing that wrong. I'm not even sure if that's worded right. Yeah, try accept. Okay, so you just raise it without. It's subtle. I was trying to do the explicit thing by raising E, right? So it would raise the same error, but by erasing the traceback. Yeah, raised by some. Wow, that is a really good answer. I should put that on Stack Overflow, ask myself that, and then answer that myself. Somebody's got that same question on Stack Overflow. That's an interesting way of generating Stack Overflow content. And it's not like spam, it's genuine subtlety. Okay, come on. You can do it. There we go. Where are we going? So raise. And I'm in the Nonetheless, to preserve the traceback, it's not raising. It should at least be raising there. So what is happening? What is happening here? Let's put a couple breakpoints in here. I don't even know how these will work. Let's try this. Just to get something that I can breakpoint. We'll run our debugger with keepdb. Test debugger with keepdb. Hello and welcome to the chat. Let me know what your experiences are with unit testing. I've avoided it for a long time in this project. But it's time, because our content importers are mission critical. And there's some other mission critical code that I need to make sure works correctly before we can go live with this site. So while I was in prototyping mindset, I wasn't following test-driven design. I was just, writing, failing differently, failing a little bit differently, then sort of succeeding enough that it seems like it's working. But these are giving me the confidence that it's working. Okay, so let's step through this. Parse media block test case, yeah. So we've got some globals, so we don't even need one there so much. We will continue, right? To the next breakpoint. So now it's using an existing database with some existing data in there. Also, have you worked with GPT-4 or Copilot to help you write, debug, and understand code? What's your experience there? Here's one where it gave me a very nuanced answer about the difference between raising a caught exception versus named exception versus raising the parent exception in a way more directly. And I never knew that. So you catch an exception, you handle it, and give it a name. But if you raise it here, you lose the trace back. Whereas if you just raise here it'll raise the exact same exception with the traceback. Really nuanced. Okay, so now we've got a local fetching file bytes here. Why is it? Oh, did I not? I didn't tell it. Basically, the specific tests. That makes sense. Because now I'm in debug mode. Okay, we'll continue with this test. It should pass. Response is 200, so I need to watch for the response on a URL that is that randomly generated one. This one should raise, and I've been able to test this raises previously. Okay, only a few minutes and I'll have to end this session. Still going, isn't it? Still running. We should then get down to, here we go. This one is correct. Here it is. So here's our test case. I would expect that this would raise, not get into this block. Yeah, this shouldn't exist. This URL shouldn't exist, so we should get a raised error here. And it should be request exception. So here's the input URLs, then we get empty media blocks back. We didn't get into this parse media blocks. I put a couple of darn it. Parse media blocks doesn't raise, it continues. Okay, and I think that Copilot knew that. At this point, we're capturing the exception. Copilot actually suggested the correct code here. Watch this. If an invalid URL should be giving me an empty array. And Copilot's, yeah, got that. Wow. Cert equal. Okay, wow. I should have just listened to Copilot. I should have ran that test initially. Interesting. It knew my code a little bit better than I did. Alright, well now I don't need all these breakpoints. I don't need the debugger. Let's just run the test and a specific test at that. So I can close the debug console. Invalid URL. This should now pass. Really cool. Yeah, we'll go ahead and destroy the test database. I should have said keep DB for little bit more speed here, but okay. I would like to write one more test case. Just for that empty string. Yeah, I was just thinking through that. It continues the loop, but there's no more items in the loop, and it returns an empty list. Is that desired behavior? I don't know. Should I raise that exception one more level? But that is how it behaves, and that's what we're testing for successfully. Wow, that's pretty cool. What did I change here? I think this is a good improvement to raise the whole stack trace. Very subtle. So this is a case of like not only these large language models making me a little bit more accelerating the development process, making me more effective, but also helping me understand nuances and my own code better. There's in some ways understanding the code better than the code that I've written. I think it was a linting thing. Prefer to do this even though it was just the obvious thing. Okay, so there's one more. So that should cover the test so that it continues and gets the empty list. We default the list here. We have a single item, which is just something it can't fetch. It tries to fetch it, hits an exception, continues the loop. You know, this list only had one item, so the loop terminates, and it appends or returns the media blocks. There's no appending because nothing was fetched. It continued, didn't get into this. We have just written tests to cover that, and I think there's one more. Oh, sorry, that was the wrong continue. This continue. Is this continue? We'll give it an empty string test, and we'll have. See, there I go trying to edit in the diff editor. Let's see what it thinks. Blank line with none as input. Pretty close. But it has to be a list of strings. I don't think none works, but let's go ahead and let it write the code and make some small modifications. It has to be a list of strings, so a list of an empty string. How about that? There we go. One empty string. Parse media blocks should be empty also. Back to media blocks. Let's add that with empty. These are a bit verbose. They're helping me to know what I'm trying to do, basically. Okay, last test, and then we will be off to day job. Hey. Didn't save. This is the issue. Just as much human error as machine error in this. this coding session. That's the case though. That's how development goes. Even if I wasn't using Copilot, you know, GPT, we make a lot of mistakes. We make small mistakes. We fix those mistakes, and we just get used to that sense of failure, persistent failure, until we succeed. That's the challenge, is kind of getting through those string of failures with slightly less failure each time until we get to the desired goal. And repeating that on different levels. One individual function, an aggregate function, project, company. You know, I think it's the same mindset. All right. Just going to do this. For some reason, it's just like a little thing I do. Instead of hitting yes there, it would automatically stage and then commit. I just like to do that just to avoid like staging everything and then committing everything. Cool beans. We'll publish this branch. Let some CI stuff run its course. Then we should see green. Okay, relating to, just create this pull request real quick. I don't know if this will close number 620. This was kind of an ambiguously defined task. We're testing the content importers. So once we get 90%, 95% coverage of the content importers, we're probably done. I think, but the content importers also includes a bunch of management commands. This is just a shared library of some media handlers that are shared among these management commands. We haven't even started in on the management commands because by default they're not included in our test coverage report. So each of these is actually a Django management command. It's like with some other functions in there. But nonetheless, Django doesn't sort of run these by default. They're just kind of CLI oriented code. You run it down here in the like terminal. And as such, the test reporting tool doesn't find them when just running the project. I need to invoke them in test cases or break out the code, the handler functions, into separate Python files, perhaps with somehow the shared py did get tested. I don't know if it was because I started writing tests in there. Well, I'll figure it out in another live stream. So hey, we've got a new pull request open here, number 630. Oops, didn't check the multi-stream chat. Nobody sent any message on YouTube, but here it is on the Twitch. Oh, yes, I'm not logged in on Twitch. Nonetheless, I'll keep an eye on multi-stream next time. Looks like I've only got people watching on Twitch currently. So this has been another open source live code hangout. In today's session, we've improved test coverage for our media block parsers. If you'd like to follow along, you can go to github.com/westernfriend and check out the Western or the WF website project. Pull request number 630 here, pull requests. I'm waiting for some CI code analyzers to run. It's like 2 of them have run. We're still waiting on the code coverage analysis. It takes a little bit longer, but once that runs, this will turn to a check mark, hopefully. And I should have information here, an informative comment by CodeCov saying what this diff, this particular change in the code has done to our test coverage. Thanks for checking out the live stream. If you're watching this later on YouTube, let me know your questions or comments. I'll try to respond promptly. Okay, have a great day. I hope you're doing well.